So after a short summer vacation, we are back and better than ever, and we're taking on the Demon Pazuzu, boys and girls. It's the ultimate battle between heaven and hell. This is the Exorcist on the Scarifyer podcast.
To a new world of gods and monsters.
How do you go about getting an exorcism?
You're convinced that it's genuine?
Your daughter doesn't say she's a demon. She says she's the devil himself.
I'm telling you that thing upstairs isn't my daughter.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
Oh yes, the ever so creepy tubular bells. Psycho Nation, welcome to Scarifyer, your podcast for all things horror and pop culture. And I gotta say, not many horror movies out there can legitimately say that they are the scariest movie of all time. And even fewer, if any, can claim that they're one of the greatest movies of all time. So it is an honor for us to be talking The Exorcist today. As always, I'm the Ace.
And I am the Gov. And before we get into Exorcist, we do have that news, the great horror news that will make your head spin with Ace over at the news desk. Ace.
So here we go. Scream, back in the news. The MTV TV show has finally gotten its third season. Kinda.
Yeah.
So, this new series that will be premiering on July 8th, 2019, is called Scream Resurrection.
Yep.
And it is no longer on MTV. It is on VH1. Still owned by MTV.
I was about to say, same thing.
And it's not going to be a full series. This is being called a 3-episode event.
So it's more or less a mini-series.
A mini-series.
Yeah.
It's going to be a whole new story, completely different from what the TV show was.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to star Mary J. Blige, Keke Palmer, Tyler Posey, with Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson getting credit where it's due as executive producer.
I was about to say, I don't think Wes Craven can work on it.
No, he can't, but we wish he could. That trailer is on our Facebook and social media accounts. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. And another great horror series, American Horror Story, back for season 9 with what's looking like, because there's really no details on it yet, but for all intents and purposes, it looks like a slasher-themed season.
Which is good. I mean, they've been, at least in the Gov's opinion, they've been floundering for a little while. I kind of tuned out of American Horror Story.
Sure. But this has got a lot of people excited. Titled 1984. It's got a release date set for September 18th at 10 p.m. wherever you are in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's talk about the power of Terrifier.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So this is really cool. As you know, we're huge fans of Terrifier. It was our first episode ever. We do anything we can to support it, but this was nothing short of amazing. Now, when the original Terrifier started its Indiegogo page,
mm-hmm.
it set a goal for $15,000 to make this movie. It only reached 29% of its goal. It actually only made $4,360. The entire Indiegogo campaign.
Okay.
So, Terrifier 2, they start the Indiegogo looking for $50,000. In less than 3 hours, they make $70,000. blowing away their goal. How incredible, how powerful of a movie is that to be able to say they can do that?
It's the wonderful thing about word of mouth, boys and girls.
So this is going to be a huge budget movie.
Yeah.
Especially for an indie horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
So we're really looking forward to Terrifier 2. It's going to be a great movie, bigger budget. As you know, we're huge fans of Terrifier. We'll keep you updated, as we hear news.
Yeah, this will become the hub to the updating production of Terrifier 2.
Absolutely. Okay, let's keep it going here. Sorry, Lost Boy fans. The CW has denied picking up the Lost Boys TV show.
Yeah.
Denied! Sit down!
However, they're not dead in the water. The CW wants a reworked version of the show so they can relook at it and maybe option it for a later time. But as of right now, they've passed.
I don't know how you feel, but Lost Boys is one of those unique movies that they got it right once, and to keep kind of trying to milk it, keep it going, is unnecessary. I didn't think the direct-to-DVD sequels were particularly any good.
Absolutely not.
So I can understand why a TV show wouldn't work. I can understand why the CW would order it back into production to work out whatever problems it has. It's one of those things that maybe should have been left alone, in my opinion.
Left alone, yes. I can see that point, certainly. But, huge fan base, huge cult following.
Sure.
It could work.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
We'll see.
And wrapping up the news, my man, Michael Myers, dominating the news for the last couple weeks. If you don't know, if you haven't heard yet, Blumhouse is officially going forward with Halloween 2.
Oh, wow. The third movie titled Halloween 2.
Why am I not surprised?
Who cares? As long as we get a movie just as good as the last one, I don't care.
I care.
Because you would.
It's the third movie called Halloween 2. You really couldn't call it anything else?
I don't care as long as we get a good movie.
All right.
So, again, no big details on it yet. There's no confirmation on a writer or a director. All that we do know as of right now is that production begins in the fall and that Jamie Lee Curtis, the original Scream Queen, is back.
For her second go at a movie called Halloween 2.
See, nobody cares.
All right. The power of Scarifyer compels us to talk about the one, the only, often imitated but never duplicated Exorcist from 1973. And usually at this point of the show, I give a little bit of a backstory on the production. We cannot do it justice here today. There are documentaries, there are books, there is so many sources about this long and interesting production. So I'm just going to give you the short version. All right? William Peter Blatty wrote a novel. He optioned it to Warner Brothers. He produced and wrote the screenplay, got William Friedkin to direct it. The Exorcist was released on December 26, 1973, one day after Christmas. Ballsy. It cost $12 million to make and grossed $44.3 million at the box office.
Good, you're married. Kiss her.
And as always, just to give you listeners some numbers out there, the Internet Movie Database gives The Exorcist an 8 out of 10. I honestly think that's a low score.
Yeah.
I give that at least a 9.
It should be.
At least a 9, if not a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Rotten Tomatoes gives it an 85%. Robert Ebert, he knew what he was talking about. 4 out of 4.
There we go.
And all you psychos in Google land, 87% of you like it.
Again, surprisingly a little bit low.
Yeah. For Google, it's got, I think that, you're talking about general public.
Yeah, no, and I mean, most of the internet is comprised of a bunch of whiners who like to nitpick and,
Yeah,
tear everything apart. I know, I'm one of them. But even still.
Well, and even still, and we're going to get into it, the religious backlash,
mm-hmm.
the visual backlash, that all still to this day plays a big role when watching this movie. Unfortunately, a lot of people can't just watch it for what it is. It's intense topics, it's intense visuals, but by the end of the day, it's a fictional movie. It's entertainment. A lot of people don't really
see it as just that.
Yeah.
I mean, it touches a raw nerve.
It sure does.
It absolutely does. And it works today as it did in 73 when it was released.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the more important things to really acknowledge during the show is its lasting impression, which we'll get into. But real quick, first time you saw it, I mean, I think at least if you can't remember the exact time you saw it, you at least remember like what power the movie had an impression on you. I mean, I at least remember that.
Sure.
I mean, for me, my interest in the movie was simply because my mother said I wasn't allowed to watch it. So I immediately had to after that. And once I did, I just blown away. And never since or before seen anything like it.
I completely agree with you on that as far as not seeing anything like it. I mean, like most things, I was told that it was the scariest movie of all time, and I got to see it. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily think that it scared me, but I knew right from the rip that I was watching something incredible.
Yeah.
That movie, this movie is just, you want to talk about catching lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Right place, right time, right topic, right everything. Casting, you name it, special effects. This is it.
Yeah.
This, again, Citizen Kane of horror.
Really?
Again, I said it in the introing the show or coming out of the intro. It's one thing to claim to be the greatest scary movie or greatest horror movie of all time. Takes you to a completely different level when you can also claim that you are one of the greatest movies of all time.
Sure.
And that's what really sets us apart from most horror movies. It's one of those movies that you can watch and just know that this is appreciate how good it really, really is. Take the horror out of it.
Oh, sure.
I mean, just take, this is just one of those movies that just, they hit it. And, as soon as the ball made contact with bat, it was gone.
No, I agree with you 100%. This is definitely one of the staples that I watch every fall.
Sure.
Around Halloween time. I love to put this movie on and just watch it on repeat. And I was so happy that when we put the poll on our social media about which topic we should tackle post, retrospect on the entire Child's Play series. I was so happy that I won. Because this was the governor's choice, and people spoke, and they wanted the gov to handle The Exorcist.
Victory.
After what we just did with the Chucky movies, I was so relieved. This really was a fresh of breath air for me to talk about and revisit this movie.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think it was needed. And when we were talking about doing a poll topic, I really looked for two movies that they weren't slashers.
Yeah.
We did the Frankenstein commentary, so I didn't really want to jump into a classic monster right yet.
Yeah.
But something different, something impactful. And originally, I was just gonna say Exorcist.
Yeah.
Because why the fuck not? But playing around with social media. The poll option, realizing that Phantasm was having a 40th anniversary, which I have a feeling we're still going to get into.
Oh, sure.
A little bit later. But, and let's face it, guys, who can really compete? You can't compete with The Exorcist.
No.
We knew as soon as we put the poll up that The Exorcist was going to win, but we just wanted to see what kind of feedback we could get from you guys. And you spoke and you said Exorcist, and even though I technically lost,
Yeah.
I couldn't be any more happier about talking about this movie and watching this movie again and researching this movie again. It's been fun.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Well, that's at least good to see that you handle failure well.
Oh, shut up.
So this movie has one hell of a production behind it, and it's one of those situations where everything that could go wrong did. And they were met with hesitation, reluctance, and roadblocks all through production. I mean, they couldn't even secure a cast. They had to make up a cast of pretty much unknowns because no one wanted to be a part of this. No one wanted to touch something this controversial, this taboo. So that's why you have a cast like we have, and it's a great cast. But at the time, if you look back in the context of history, they were all either unknown or completely undiscovered actors.
Sure.
And they had hard production. A lot of things happen. I mean, you start off day one with the set catching on fire.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And that's one of the clicks on the supposed curse on The Exorcist, which I'll go into detail a little bit later.
Yep. But at the same time, one of the things I love about this film is that it's filmed so raw. There's people think, as you said, like the special effects that went into this movie. There's really not that many. There's no digital effects. There's maybe one or few optical effects, but everything about it is very basic, and that's how Friedkin decided to shoot it. You look at any of the number of behind-the-scene photos or videos, and you see like how they actually did this stuff, and it's the simplest thing. The infamous scene where Chris McNeil goes up to her daughter's room and like records and a bunch of things are flying across the room and hitting the wall. They literally just threw shit in front of a fan. That's how they got that effect, and it's crazy. It's, the drawers and the dressers moving across the room. Those are, PAs pulling with strings and stuff like that. That's what gives it its charm, I think, and makes it work so well.
Well, I mean, again, art that I feel is really starting to get lost in, especially not only modern horror films, but in films in general, practicality.
Yeah.
All the effects, again, stuff that you can do, like you were just saying, just off camera, and what really carried was the relationships of the characters.
Sure.
The acting. And it's an art that's really being lost today because, of the benefit of CGI and computers. You can really do anything you want, but you still can't get those people.
I mean,
you can't get that natural reaction. I mean, this goes all the way back to the Frankenstein monster with Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
A practical makeup where, it looks striking, but so much of it was Boris. Mm-hmm. And it really made the difference in that movie. Mm-hmm. Same thing here when she starts turning into the demon, Pazuzu, and just getting sick. So much of that is Linda Blair.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it is Linda Blair, but you see so much of Linda Blair in that, even as they're caking shit onto her.
Well, I mean, one of the better decisions they made early on, because obviously, like any other movie, they do makeup tests, and there are photos out there of her having much more of like a demonic, gaunt face, almost supernatural type face. And then they decided, I guess, to strike that and just go with more of like her body's deteriorating with the scars and stuff like that, which I think is far more effective than like a ghoul makeup kind of thing.
Well, sure. I mean, because it made it real.
Exactly.
I mean,
it kept the realism intact.
Yeah. I mean, we all knew that she was possessed, but at the same time, all the injuries on her face, there's something that could happen to someone in real life.
Sure.
For any
The only supernatural thing they really kept on her were the eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
No, I mean
that's effective enough.
The tongue and well,
yeah,
as you get
But I'm talking about like in terms of Pazuzu would definitely come out every now and then to make his presence known. But that's the way she looked though. That's what he did to her.
Right.
But to touch back real quick about like what you said about with practicality and how it's a lost art, and I agree with you 110% on that. It is a lost art. It's something we have lost in touch with and something we really need to harken back to when we're making modern movies. And if they ever were to remake this movie, talk about sacrilege, that's one thing, but all this stuff would be done digital, and it would just lose it. It would just lose its effect completely.
It would.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, you couldn't make a movie like this in modern days. We don't get political on this, but you just do got to play in the political correctness factor. You could never get away modern times with a movie like this.
Well, I mean,
it was just so controversial.
I mean, but it's not for a lack of trying. Anyone who follows us on the show knows that the Gov is not a huge fan of the Conjuring series or the Conjuring universe, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Why? Because, granted, I know it has a huge following, and I know a lot of people like it. All the power to you if you do. I don't, because all I see it as blatant ripoffs of either The Exorcist or Poltergeist.
Right.
You know what I mean? Again, as I said in the intro to this show, often imitated, never duplicated.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, even with The Conjuring, I mean, you still don't get that, trigger pull. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, they didn't, with The Exorcist, they didn't just pull the trigger. They, it was a fucking bazooka they were shooting.
Sure.
And
everything about it was supposed to fail. Again, like it was set up to fail, and no one wanted anything to do with it. And what do you get at the end? You get one of the most influential, highest grossing films ever, and the first and one of the only horror films to be nominated for Academy Award.
Yeah.
For Best Picture.
Sure.
That's crazy.
Again, it's one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yeah.
You again, a movie that transcends a genre.
I mean, it sits on a throne of its own that is just untouchable. I mean, even as great as like Halloween is, like, yeah, it's two completely different things. But when you're talking about like a universal champion, in my opinion,
well,
it's really Exorcist.
Well, again, Exorcist transcends genre.
Yeah.
Halloween didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now you want to put it in there in a category of greatest horror movies ever, just in horror, just in that genre. I mean, I think Halloween's got a fighting shot.
Yeah.
If you're just looking at the horror aspect of it, Exorcist transcends the genre.
Mm-hmm.
And not many other movies have. Jaws transcend the genre.
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs transcended the genre. I mean, there's three key ones that really took it to a different level, and not many other movies do. I mean,
and Silence of the Lambs was one of those that got the Academy Award.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and Jaws. I mean, Jaws. I mean,
I would say Jaws just paved the way for the blockbuster. I mean, you could, in some ways, you can classify it as a horror film, but
it was a horror movie. I mean,
it was a monster movie kind of thing.
Well, monster movie horror. I mean, that's the same genre.
Monster movie on the water. Yeah.
I mean, but again,
but that to me is almost like saying that so is Jurassic Park, and I don't classify that. Like if you go into any video store, you'll find both Jaws and Jurassic Park in action rather than like horror.
I always thought Jaws was more horror. Certainly more action for Jurassic Park, but I mean, regardless, what I'm saying, what I'm saying is that it's movies that transcended their genre.
Yeah,
I mean, again, how many exorcism movies have we had? But nothing's ever
come close.
Come close. And just how many killer shark movies have we had?
Sure,
nothing's ever come close to Jaws.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, we do have an amazing cast backing this movie, and as I said before, they were all either undiscovered or completely unknown, or just trying to get that first break, where we have a cast made up of Ellen Burstyn, Max von Sydow, Lee J. Cobb, Kitty Wynn, Jason Miller, and of course, the legendary Linda Blair. As you said, this is a movie that's only as good as its cast. And when you got this kind of an ensemble really giving it all and then some, really makes the film work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And honestly, and this is probably going to get some people talking. My favorite character in this movie is not Linda Blair. Mine's Jason Miller.
You know what? I was going to say the same thing.
Damien Carey's. What a great performance.
Absolutely.
I mean, if anybody in this movie is deserving of an Academy Award, it would have been that guy.
No, he was phenomenal, and he is in many ways my favorite character in the movie as well. His character, his story arc, what he goes through in the duration of the movie really holds it together.
I mean, a priest that's lost his faith.
Yeah.
And just, to have to find it to save this girl.
Sure.
And Jason Miller just holy crap.
And he's one of those guys that were completely unknown to the acting world.
Sure.
He made his first statement in entertainment as a playwright. He wrote a play. Yeah, he won. Jason Miller won a Pulitzer Prize for drama for his play, The Championship Season. And this was really one of his only steps into acting. He obviously followed it up in Exorcist 3.
Right.
But this is really his role. And the only role he's really obviously known for and really done. He showed up in a few movies through the 80s and 90s before his untimely death, unfortunately, in 2001. But, the work that he did in this film is amazing.
There's roles that you can literally, you just can't see other people doing. Jason Miller in this role is one of them.
Sure.
It's like, who wants to see anyone other than Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
Who would you like to see as Indiana Jones?
Nobody is going to be Indiana Jones.
Ever.
Don't you get it?
No one.
I'm Indiana Jones.
So when you're gone, it's gone.
When I'm gone, he's gone. It's easy.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. And Jason Miller is Father Damien Carey's. Oh, man.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, again, like you said, the wonderful thing about him is his character as a priest who's lost his faith due to his own personal issues and also everyone else's issues, being a psychiatrist in the priesthood. And, his arc to end with him sacrificing himself to save a child who he's never met.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize that. He's never met Reagan. He only knows Pazuzu, but he's willing to give his life for her.
Right.
It's so well done and well acted. Max von Sydow, the other priest, the titular character of The Exorcist, another fantastic performance that a lot of people often credit just his acting ability alone in this film, more so because he is only a 40-year-old playing an 80-year-old, or however old Father Merrin is, and that's all, makeup and acting and stuff like that. Just to give you some reference, this was 7 years before he was Emperor Ming in Flash Gordon.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, he was a younger man when he played this role, and the discipline that he had to pull it off is phenomenal.
Well, and again, and it goes to, the incredible acting, when when you first see him, all right, so we first see him in Iraq.
Sure.
And, we kind of get an idea of who he is, but when he shows up in Georgetown, that this guy means business.
Oh, sure.
you know 100% that this guy is legit, and not many performances in movies can just immediately make you believe that this is it. This is what we're seeing is real.
Exactly. I mean, again, titular character. He is the Exorcist. It's him, his silhouette on the infamous poster. But he's in the movie so little.
Sure.
But when he's there, he makes such an impact.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's deserving. And I especially love his insistence on lack of information.
Yep.
You got Father Karras trying to give him background on the case and let him know like what he's dealing with. Doesn't matter. It's not even a factor. He's trying to insist that there's multiple demons, and he's like, there's only one.
He's done it before.
Yeah.
Get out of my way.
Exactly. And even toward the end where when Father Karras can't handle it, he tells him to get out.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's such a powerful performance.
You can tell that, again, you believe that he's not only the real deal, you believe he's experienced. You without him even saying it, you know that he's done this before.
Yeah.
You know that he knows what he's up against.
Here you got an ailing old man who knows he's in poor health, knows he's in failing health, still willing to put it all on the line and eventually die at the hands of this demon in order to save a child they don't even know.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just wonderful writing. William Peter Blatty did an excellent job writing the novel and then converting it into this screenplay. And if you haven't read the novel, I can advise you to. Please go. It's a wonderful book. And it's one of those few things that are very much like the movie. So if you enjoy the movie, you'll enjoy the novel.
Well, I mean, that's one of the benefits of having the author of the novel being your screenwriter.
Oh, sure.
But
and
no.
and hand select the director.
Yeah, but definitely if you don't have time to read in this busy world of ours, it's on audio tape.
It's on Audible.
It's
there.
It's on Audible. It's on the Kindle. Listen to it. I mean, listening to it is almost just as fun as reading it. I mean, yeah. I mean, Harry Potter wishes it could be as good as this. They wish they could have done it. Converted a book to a movie as good as this.
Sorry, Potter fans.
Yeah, my wife's gonna kill me by that one.
Yeah. But yeah, again, just wrapping up this cast, fantastic performances by everyone.
Well, I mean, we both agree our favorite character is Damien.
Yeah.
But we got to tip our hat to 12-year-old Linda Blair.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, what she was asked to do in this movie as a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Holy shit, dude. I mean,
what she's able to pull off, I think she was 13 at the time, but the character's 11 and 12, and regardless.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, it's
like one of those things that you don't really see. You don't really notice like everything she's doing in this film. She's doing all of it with the exception of a few things that she couldn't because of her age do. They did have body doubles for her and during the infamous crucifix masturbation scene, obviously.
right.
And a couple other things that she just physically couldn't do. The spider walk scene that for all of you who've seen the director's scene obviously was not her. But
she did take her bumps. The scene
Sure
where she's
did.
getting thrashed on the bed.
Yeah.
She literally injured her back.
Yeah.
Legit. And so did
Ellen Burstyn.
She gets both of them. They get knocked to the ground. They take their lumps and they get up and they kept going.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about a mother-daughter relationship for the ages.
Sure.
I mean, you believe that they were mother. I mean, again, the acting was so well.
Very few times do you see in movies where they just get it right.
Right.
100% right in the casting.
Exactly.
There's not one misstep There's not one miscast character. And it's written there. It's on the screen. You can see it. Linda Blair after this was, headed to, she got the nomination at the Academy Awards, and she was off to a very promising career, which unfortunately unraveled due to Exorcist 2 and a string of Razzie nominations during the 80s that kind of cemented her as you're typecast as this character kind of thing. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I'll put a sample during the show, but I also want to post it on our social media. Somebody on YouTube found versions of the demon scenes where it's Linda Blair's voice, and obviously it's different. You don't have the another terrific performance by Mercedes McCumbridge doing the voice of the demon, but it's still effective. It's in many ways a lot creepier to see this figure of a possessed child with still a little child's voice coming out of her mouth. So I'm definitely want to post that on social media. It's very interesting for anyone who's a fan of the film.
Well, then let's introduce ourselves. I'm Damien Karras.
And I'm the devil! Now kindly undo these straps. Your mother's in here with us, Karras. Would you like to leave a message? I'll see that she gets it. What's that?
Holy water.
You keep it away. Keep it away. Oh, it burns! It burns! Oh, it burns!
So the cultural impact of this film is a podcast topic in of itself.
Absolutely.
It's vast. I mean, it pissed so many people off the day, and still to this day it raises controversy.
It makes people mad. It makes people happy. But I mean, again, this thing was it was a once in a lifetime event.
Sure.
This movie comes out a day after Christmas. And it's a very limited release.
Yeah.
Only 30 theaters in the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah.
And people lined up, lines circling blocks.
Yeah.
I mean, people waiting in, sub-zero weather for 4 to 8 hours, showing after showing to get into this thing.
I mean, that just shows...
what a statement, and then half of the people would leave halfway through the movie because they couldn't take it.
Sure.
And then go back, sit another 4 hours in line,
pay again,
and go see it again to see if they could get through it.
Yeah. It almost became like an endurance test.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think the reason why it was only released to 30 theaters, I think Warner Brothers was legitimately terrified about the results.
Sure.
About how people will react.
It was so controversial.
But when there was just no escaping it,
yeah. The public spoke.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this movie has a lot of taboo into it. They do so many things that you just didn't do in films. And so much so that they had to fight an X rating. They really struggled to get their R rating because it was really touch and go for a second there where it was going to be rated X. Touched a lot of raw nerves. And one of the things that people don't even realize, the things that bother them the most, the angiography scene really fucked people in the head. When it was like where they took the fantasy away for a minute and realized that this is some things that medical science does.
Sure.
That really bothered people.
Between that, the head spinning around, you just didn't see stuff like this in movies. It was so groundbreaking.
The obscenities that a little child would say.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
Shocking.
Repeatedly in the movie.
And we're not just talking an F-bomb here.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
We got a few see you next Tuesdays.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Big time.
So being as controversial as it was, The Exorcist, through word of mouth, rumor innuendo, becomes common knowledge that this movie might be cursed.
Mm-hmm.
So I got 7 facts that supposedly prove that this film is cursed.
Well, let's hear it.
So, starting right from the rip, right from the very beginning, the novel The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, he wrote based on an actual exorcism in Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't a girl, wasn't a boy. It was a boy. And he used the pseudonym as Ronald Doe. And just like the novel he writes, Catholic priests at Georgetown University Hospital, they perform a real-life exorcism to stop him from harming himself and other people. He breaks some of the restraints.
Yep.
Eventually, the family, they don't want him involved to kind of save face, to save character. So Blatty then turns it into a girl.
Sure.
And, Ronald actually goes on to live a normal life with no memory of the exorcism itself. He goes to work out for NASA, of all things.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. But again, to start the curse that, it did involve a real exorcism. The book was written in cooperation with the Catholic Church. So it lends itself that Blatty was really dabbling into some stuff they probably shouldn't have been doing. Number 2. Shooting of the movie was delayed for 6 weeks after a pigeon found its way into some electrical circuits and burnt the inside of the McNeil house down.
Which we talked about a little bit.
But the creepy thing about this was the entire house burnt except for Regan's room.
Yep.
So that's kind of out there.
Think of it what you will.
Yep. Number 3, again, actress Ellen Burstyn. We've talked about this before. When she gets tossed to the ground by Regan in the bedroom, legit gets hurt, injured her back, still, ails her to this day.
Yep.
So again, her going down, getting hurt, curse. Fact number 4, which proves that this movie is cursed, if you believe that sort of thing. There were some deaths involved in The Exorcist. Actor Jack McGowan, who plays Burke Denning.
Yep.
And people, I am terrible with names, so I'm not even trying to pronounce this one, but we just know her as Damien's mother. They both died in post-production of the movie, so they never saw the movie come out. And Linda Blair's grandfather passed away during production. Max van Sydow. His brother passes away on the first day of shooting. Also, Jason Miller's son is almost killed in a motorcycle accident.
Yep.
During shooting. So, cursed.
This place is cursed.
Number 5. Again, we're cursed. We mentioned this before. Linda Blair injuring her back on a rig that broke during the scene where she's getting whipped around on the bed.
Yep.
Again, not freak accident. It's a curse.
What is it with you and curses?
Yeah, I ain't happy without a good curse. This is cursed. That is cursed.
Give it a rest, will ya?
Number 6. Actress Mercedes McCambridge, who played the demonic voice of Pazuzu, was the victim of a horrible tragedy when her son murdered his wife and children before taking his own life. Tragedy
or curse.
You guys.
Decide.
Yeah. And number 7, finally, the curse or whatever. Many believe that if you watch this movie through the projector that it invited demonic possession. This was championed by televangelist Billy Graham. He stated the power of evil in the film, in the fabric of the power of evil is in the film and in the fabric of the film itself. So
has nothing to do with the projector. It's the film.
No, so the film is possessed. The film is cursed. The movie's cursed. So you watch the movie, you're going to get possessed by the devil.
I mean, it's one of those infamous film curses that linger on. You can see them on a ton of, compilation videos and stuff like that. Amongst the others, you got the Poltergeist curse. Poltergeist is another great horror movie that touched a raw nerve. It's the best Tobe Hooper movie ever directed by Steven Spielberg, in my opinion.
Absolutely. That needs to go on a T-shirt.
Yeah, and the Superman curse is another one.
Bruce Lee curse, or the Lee family curse.
Yeah, so it's take what you will out of it. Believe into it as much as you want to believe out of it. Personally, it's a film.
It's a movie.
You know what I mean?
Look, shit happens. People die. And not to be insensitive to the fact, but life happens.
I highly doubt that Friedkin or Blatty were calling upon cultist powers in the production of this movie. Until I'm proven wrong, I really don't think it happened.
They didn't need to sacrifice people to make this movie successful.
Sure. And again, one of the things we can't overlook, this film was supported heavily by the Catholic Church. They loved this film.
Because they were the superheroes of it.
Exactly. This movie has a wide and unique legacy behind it. It's multiple sequels. It's adaptations. It's everything around it, trying to really capitalize on the success of this first film. I don't think it really worked out the way they wanted.
No, I mean, Exorcist 2 was a flop.
It was ridiculous.
Brought Regan back.
Reagan, you are terrible with names.
I am terrible. I am. Hey, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, Exorcist 2 brings Reagan back.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't really extend the story. It's kind of boring. It's
makes zero sense.
Yeah,
it's common knowledge that the filmmaker did not want to make an Exorcist movie.
No, I don't even think Blatty was involved.
He wasn't.
No,
he wasn't. He was involved with the third.
Yes, and he wrote a sequel to it called Legion.
Yeah, in the form of a novel.
Yes. Again, Exorcist 3. What can you say about it? Not the best movie in the world. George C. Scott, not bad.
Yeah.
Brad Dourif, a guy who we've talked about a lot.
Endlessly. But still gives a great performance in it.
Great performance. We see a return of Jason Miller.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that stuff was cool, but after that, there's really no use for the movie.
I mean, there is a recently released director's cut from Shout Factory, our friends over at Scream Factory. They produced a director's cut, which is more what the film was supposed to be until the studio got involved and wanted to make it more like an Exorcist movie. Because, again, based on his novel, this movie was supposed to be simply called Legion.
Sure.
But then they were like, you got to change the title to Exorcist 3, and you have to have an exorcism at the end. Originally, there wasn't supposed to be an exorcism at the end. So I haven't checked it out yet, but I've heard good things. So if you want to check out Shout Factory / Scream Factory's version of Exorcist 3, the director's cut, it is out there.
And of course, there was the prequel.
The fucking mess that is
the
the prequel.
Exorcist Beginnings.
Oh my god,
which was stupid.
They both suck. Everyone there's this debate about which one's better, the Dominion prequel to The Exorcist or Exorcist: The Beginning. They both suck.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah, again, really, as sequels do nothing for me, does, nothing to enhance the original movie. I will say, and I do champion it, the Fox TV series, The Exorcist, I was very disappointed when they canceled it, but what a cool show. I know, for those of you who haven't seen the show, I'm giving a spoiler right now. Gina Davis' character is Reagan. And you know what? It works. Because they don't reveal it until the very end of the first season, and it is one of the most wow moments. Because, I found the first season really hard to get through. Mm-hmm. Because, it was supposed to be The Exorcist. They're calling it The Exorcist, but nothing really made it feel like The Exorcist. And then when Reagan's there, you realize that it's not them trying to do The Exorcist TV series. They're doing The Exorcist, the sequel, as a TV series. And holy shit. I mean, it did it for me.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. It's something that I can't get into. Maybe I'll revisit it again. It's on Hulu. I can't overlook the fact of recasting Reagan. All respect to Gina Davis. She's a fantastic actress who needs to do a lot more work.
Sure.
She's one of the greats. She's a staple of a lot of everyone's childhood through Beetlejuice and various other films, League of Their Own. There's one Reagan, and it's Linda Blair. Now, granted, maybe Linda Blair didn't want to do the role, or maybe they didn't even ask her to do the role. But you can't just recast it with Gina Davis, in my opinion.
I completely understand where you're coming from.
I mean,
I get it.
I mean, she suffered through The Heretic, and you won't even let her come back for the series.
All right, but here's the thing, though. It was the way they built it up it was a surprise. And if you had Linda Blair in it, the surprise ending of the first season where you find out that it is Regan doesn't work because you got Linda Blair. You know exactly who it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
you could, I don't know.
For the diehards, I get it. There's only one Regan. It's Linda Blair. But in the context of that show and what they were trying to do and what they pulled off, you couldn't have Linda Blair in it because you would have blown your whole surprise ending.
Yeah, but didn't they even the second season they dropped it? Like Gina Davis wasn't even a regular character anymore.
She was a regular character.
For some reason, I read that she went.
I mean, maybe season 3.
There is no season 3.
I thought there was I don't know.
From what I read, again, I haven't watched the show, but from what I read, when it went from the big build-up, like you said, to season 1 was this big reveal, but then season 2, they didn't even capitalize on that. That's at least my understanding. Tell me if I'm wrong, because you've obviously watched the show.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to go back and rewatch season 2.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she had a more prominent role in season 2 than what you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because they kind of play off mother-daughter being possessed type thing.
Yeah.
Like, Regan is still possessed by Pazuzu and kind of it's taking over.
Yeah.
And, she's kind of like doing his bidding. It's weird. I mean, I'd have to go back and watch it again. It's been a while, but
yeah.
I mean, I just, again, going back to, at least season 1,
mm-hmm.
And the Linda Blair discussion.
Yeah.
You don't get the surprise that it's the sequel, if you put Linda Blair in it. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
I mean, I guess if that's what it all was, I'm like I don't know the production history of it. Maybe they did ask her to come back and she just didn't want to. She's past the role. Who knows? Or like that big reveal was that important that they couldn't just have the actress there. But
well, Psycho Nation, let me tell you what then. If you want to know about the production of The Exorcist, the TV series, send us a suggestion and we'll gladly do a whole episode on The Exorcist TV series.
I might even watch it then.
Yeah.
All right, we've talked about this movie endlessly, so now we've come to the point where it's time to give it that rating on the Scarifyer.
Well, yeah, we've talked to it at length today. So much more we could get into, but you could really do 5 shows just on this movie.
There's college theses about this.
Yeah,
film.
It's one of the most important movies of all time. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. It's the greatest scary horror movie of all time. Whether it's your favorite or not, you can't deny this one.
Well, let me ask you this: do you think that this is a horror movie?
I do, but I can see where you can take it as not one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I mean that goes to, is is Poltergeist a horror movie? Is Jaws a horror movie?
Which
is Silence of a Lamb a horror movie? I think they are. They fit in the genre.
It's one of those things where you get to decide how you view the film. I know the filmmakers involved did not view this as a horror movie. They viewed it almost as everything but. It's a mother and daughter drama. It's a theological thriller. It's a detective story. It's a story about a priest losing his faith. There's so many different things, but often when they're asked, horror does not get brought up.
Right.
So I think that's one of the wonderful things about it, though, is you can interpret it as whatever you want it to be.
Sure. But, back to a ranking.
Nothing left to do but to rate it. So Ace.
How can you not give it a 5 out of 5?
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is one of the greatest movies of all time. I think anything short of at least a 4.5.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to hate it.
Yeah.
You want a reason to just not like this movie and, go against the grain and, and again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. And going back to opinions, when I first watched the movie, everyone told me it was the scariest movie of all time.
Yeah.
This movie didn't scare me.
Mm-hmm.
It was a damn good movie.
Yeah.
It was, and it had creepy, scary elements to it, but it didn't scare me in the slightest.
Sure.
The only thing about The Exorcist that scared me is when I went to Halloween Horror Nights in Universal Studios, the Exorcist maze scared the living shit out of me.
Yeah.
And it was the only haunted house I've ever been through that scared me.
Yeah.
But, that aside, movie itself didn't scare me. It was just a damn good, creepy, scary movie.
I mean, I don't know if it does scare me either. Like I said, it touches a nerve, though. And it makes you think, and you see things that you would never in your wildest nightmares ever think of. It's very rare that I ever give a movie a perfect score, because there's always room for improvement. There's always flaw. There's no flawless movies. But why would you want to look for it in this movie? So I'm going to go with a 5 out of 5 too. For
Absolutely.
The Gov. Absolutely. It's untouchable. It's unattainable. It's, as I said, it sits on a throne of itself.
It's lightning in a bottle, man.
And it will never happen again.
No. Hey, Psycho Nation, it's the Ace here. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret right now. I have my own side business. That's right. I actually have a very talented wife that I put her to work so I can make money off of her. It's called Lambert Horror and Pop Culture. You can find us on Facebook, but this message is specifically for our fans in upstate New York. On July 13th, from 11 to 4 p.m., we will have a table at the Ford and Superstop Classic Car Show. Now, what is Lambert Horror and Pop Culture? Well, we make customized pop culture products. So, what we got is hand-painted peg dolls. We got keychains. We got magnets. We got bookmarks. We got all sorts of goodies. So, if you're looking for a special gift for a super fan, we might have something special for you. So, come check us out. The Ace will be there in person with my lovely wife. Support local vendors and come have a good time. Check the cars out. And that's it, Psycho Nation. And again, so much to talk about The Exorcist. We could spend a month's worth of episodes on it. So hopefully you learned a little bit of the overview of what The Exorcist was, what it is today.
Again, there's so much history behind this movie and the production itself, so we encourage you to go out and do some research and watch videos, read books, because there's just so much that we couldn't do justice on this show, and we hope you were able to keep your pea soup and oatmeal down while listening to us.
Absolutely. And, if you want to talk about more, keep the, conversation going with us on social media. We're always on.
Absolutely.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Message us, email us at scarifyer@gmail.com.
Leave comments. Tell us what you think about The Exorcist.
Yes. If you have, a viewpoint of The Exorcist that, we didn't cover that you want our opinion on, shoot us a message. We don't bite hard. We pride ourselves on being the podcast for the fans, by the fans. We want to talk with you. We want your opinions. But we got to move on to the next week. And you know what? Fuck it. It lost last week's poll, but we are doing the 40th anniversary review of Phantasm. The Gov has never seen it.
I have never seen it.
So
this will be an interesting viewpoint from the Gov.
This will be again, cult classic, great horror movie, celebrating its 40th birthday. Fun episode coming. And
I am willing to sit through it because, well, I love my job.
As we all do. And listen, for those of you in upstate New York, fans of Scarifyer, on July 13th, Saturday, at the Fort Ann Superstop, there is a classic car show. Me and my wife, we are going to have a booth there. I will be selling our handmade products, hand-painted peg dolls, keychains, bookmarks, magnets of all your favorite horror and pop culture characters. Come say hi to us. Talk about Scarifyer, the podcast. We're there to promote, support local vendors. Come out and have some fun.
And remember, if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to all our social media accounts: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Scarifyer.
And that's it. See you next time.